Good evening and welcome back to Mo's site. Today is February 9th, 2019. In the last video on wealth, I spoke about business. Specifically, I spoke about marketing. In today's video, I want to talk about operations. Now, I want to note one thing. As I talk about operations, I will reference processes, business processes, and workflows. It should be understood that even though I'm speaking to these under the operations domain, the same thinking should be applied when you're developing your marketing and your financial as well as other processes. At the end of this, after I've covered marketing, operations, and finance, I will then develop a business model. Now, too often in the corporate world, and even in the small to medium-sized business world, IT is seen as a support process. In reality, IT should be integral to the finance, operations, marketing, HR, and whatever other processes a business has. IT should not be seen as a separate entity, but it should be seen as a cohesive entity. So once I'm done with the finance section, which will come after this operations section, and as I start to develop this new paradigm of a business model, you will see how IT should be integrated into that paradigm, into that business model. But let's move ahead. Operations. What is operations? We spoke of the blue box or red box or black box, whatever color box you want to have. And we spoke about inputs and the product coming out the other end. What takes place within that box to transform those inputs into that product is operations. Operations is that set of transformative processes, undertakings that are applied to the supplies to create the product. Now, generally, when you think about operations, when you think about transformation, when you think about supplies, inputs, and then the product, you think about manufacturing. And it is in manufacturing that you can readily see that transformation taking place. I might have a car assembly plant where I have aluminum that comes in, it's stamped into the different components of the frame of the body of the vehicle. Then those stamped parts are welded together to form the frame. That frame is then sent down the line. Someone might add a wheel, someone might add a seat, someone might add a steering wheel, someone might add a window. At the end, you have a finished vehicle that you can now sell. However, every business, whether service, manufacturing, has that transformative process. Look at a hospital, or in this case, let's look at a doctor. The inputs to that doctor's office, which is now the black box, the inputs are the knowledge that doctor has acquired through their training. The sick patient, medicine, medical supplies, Diagnostic methodologies such as x rays, MRIs, taking your blood pressure, your heart rate. These are all the inputs. The transformative process now involves the doctor speaking to the patient to gain an understanding of what ails a patient, the doctor applying their knowledge to the patient's ailments, and coming up with a diagnosis as to what the disease this patient may be suffering from, and then prescription of medication, as well as remedial action that the patient should take. If you look at a retail establishment, the inputs are, let's take a clothing store. The inputs are the clothes to be sold. It's the facility in which those clothes would be sold, to the storefront. The salespeople, the clerks, these are all the inputs. And the end, the product is a customer walking out with their clothes in a bag. You look at a restaurant. The inputs are the food supplies, the beef, the chicken, onions, vegetables, and so forth. It is the kitchen staff. It is a wait staff. It is the hostess at the front when you come into the restaurant, and the restaurant itself. The product is not just the meal that the customer eats, but the experience the customer has in your restaurant. So, when analyzing your business to define your operations model, you need to ask yourself, what are the inputs into the business? And what is the product? When you define the product, understand, the product is more than just a tangible item. Consider the intangibles. When you consider the intangibles, it will enable you to better target your product to your desired market, as well as better define and orchestrate the transformative processes that deliver that product. When you look at the inputs, consider all factors that go into that business. So if I'm looking at a law firm, the law firm is more than just an office where the lawyer meets with the client. The law firm involves the legal procedures, the legal training of the lawyer and paralegals, as well as any information that lawyer might require to prepare for a case. If you look at law, there's several things that happen. You go to a lawyer, and this is how you should look at defining your operations model. So let's consider the legal profession. I have been charged with murder. All right? The DA wants to hit me with murder 2. If you don't understand what murder 2, murder 3 is, manslaughter, that's accidental murder. I'm driving my vehicle. Some kid runs into the street. I did not see the kid. It's raining. I hit the kid. I killed the kid. I did not intend to kill that child. Then you have premeditated murder. Premeditated murder, you've done something to me, and I sit there and I ponder, and I say to myself, I'm going to kill that motherfucker. I plan it. I track your movement. And I isolate where I'm going to take you out. That's premeditated. So when when you go to a law firm, I'm the client, I'm the defendant, I've been charged with this crime. I go to the lawyer, I tell the lawyer, these are the details of my case. The lawyer will ask some questions of me to get background. So I've been charged with murder. Let's say I've been charged with murder 2, murder 3. All right. The lawyer might ask me, what happened? When did it happen? How did it happen? Are there any witnesses? Who else was involved? That's called gathering the facts of the case. In law, you have something called precedents. Now, precedents is also called case law. Precedents involves all cases that are similar to mine that have been tried and adjudicated in the past. Usually when a judge presides over a case and writes a judgment, we're going to assume a non-jury trial, usually what you'll have at the appeals court level or at the Supreme Court level. In an appeals court, you usually have 3, 6, 9 judges that will look at a case and determine, did the lower court rule in accordance with the law? They might agree with the lower court, in which case they'll deny the appeal or send it back to the lower court. They might disagree with the lower court, in which case they will issue an appeals decision. When they issue that appeals decision, they will write an opinion. Usually have a dissenting opinion and a consenting opinion, if you could call it that. The opinion states that we decided to rule in this way, in this case, based on A, B, C, D. They might also reference another prior case and say that prior case ruled this way based on D, E, F, G. So we reference that prior case, and in consideration of that and the facts presented before us, we ruled this way. Now, this serves as a reference for the future. So that lawyer, after taking your information, will then go and do research to identify what are the cases similar to this case, how were those cases decided, and what is the basis for those decisions. The lawyer will then consult what they call the code, the criminal code. Now, laws are generally established through legislative action, through precedents, and through regulatory action. A lawyer, when they present their case before a judge or before a jury, their focus is to take the law and apply the law to your case. In law, you have what are called defenses. So, if I'm speeding and I get a ticket for speeding, and I was going 60 in a 35, I've broken the law. But if I have my wife in the back seat and she's in labor and I'm trying to get her to the hospital, then that is my defense, because that is the reason that I was speeding. So the lawyer will look at the law, will look at the facts that you presented, those are the facts of the case, and he'll look at precedents. And based on those 3 things, he will try to formulate a defense for you. When he goes in front of the judge, in front of the jury, he will argue towards that defense. So we go back to the murder case. I've been charged with murder. I killed someone. Okay? What are the facts of that case? I present those facts. What does the law say in regards to murder? And what defenses does the law permit? And then, what other murder cases similar to mine have been tried at the state and federal level? So those are the transformative processes in a legal setting. Every business has those transformative processes. Understanding those transformative processes then allows you to decompose them into workflows. Workflows are those series of tasks that are undertaken to complete an objective. You look at accounting. In accounting, you have several documents that are maintained to track the inflow and outflow of money in a company. Let's look at one of these processes, one of these documents, one of these activities. Posting to the general ledger. What does posting to the general ledger mean? That means that I post all transactions, all purchases, all receipts, and I post them to the general ledger. I'm a business, I might buy office supplies, $1,000 worth of office supplies, and I pay by credit card, which is similar to cash. As an accountant, what has happened? I have increased the value of office supplies and I have reduced the amount of cash. Now, office supplies is an asset, cash is an asset. So when I post to the general ledger, to the general journal, I am going to record an increase in office supplies and a reduction in cash. Down the road, I will then post that information to the income statement and the cash flow statement, to the general ledger, and eventually to the balance sheet. So just that process, just that activity of posting to the general ledger, you can define specific tasks that are undertaken. Note the amount of office supplies purchased. Note the amount of cash reduced. Record that information in the general journal. Once you've identified the workflows, you can then aggregate these workflows into sub-processes and eventually processes. What does this do for you as a business owner? It gives you an understanding of what is taking place in your business. You know what it takes to move from here to there, to create this product. In a lot of instances, when you create a product, it's in steps. I might create this portion, then I might create this portion and that portion, and I join them together, and now I have that product. So each of those steps could be looked at as a sub-process. Once the elements of that sub-process are complete, which then feed up into the larger process, then you know you've completed that portion of work that feeds into the final product. By understanding the processes, sub-processes, and workflows, it enables you to do several things. You can optimize your business, which is increase your productivity. The way you do that is you come back, let's say I'm manufacturing pens, all right? And I realize that it's taking me too long to manufacture one pen. As a result of that, I'm losing out on market opportunities. If I have decomposed the process of creating a pen into sub-processes and workflows, I could go back and look at those workflows, those sub-processes, and identify where is my bottleneck. That way, I focus on that one sub-process, which is a holdup, and not touch the other sub-processes, and I make modifications to that slow down sub-process to speed it up. As a result, the overall process of manufacturing a pen is enhanced. When you talk about managerial accounting, and we'll cover that when I talk about finance, it's focused on the cost of production. So each process, each workflow, each sub process has costs associated with it. These may be material costs, these may be equipment costs, these may be plant costs, these may be labor costs. If I'm building a house, I'm laying a foundation. What is the first thing I do? I excavate. After I excavate, assuming I'm going to do a slab foundation with a full basement, then I'll put up my footers. And all the footers are wooden planks that extend for the length of the foundation. And then you pour concrete between those wooden planks. You let it sit, you let it cure, you let it dry. After it's dry, you take the footing off and you have your wall. So those are the steps involved in that. All right. After I've laid the foundation, of course, I lay the sill, I lay the floor joists, I lay the floorboard, I frame the walls, I run the electric and the plumbing through the walls, I hang the drywall, I put on the secondary floor, and so forth, and the house is done. If I am a general contractor, and all of my competition, or I'm a home builder, and all of my competition can build a house in 3 weeks, but it's taking me 6 weeks to build a house. If I do not understand the processes involved